Baxter-Patrick opened back in 1963, and I was one of the first students that came here. We used to go to Gresham-Megget. That's where the elementary and high school was combined. And when Baxter-Patrick was completed, started the 4th grade here. You know, we got to have a school right in our own community. My grandmother lived next door, across the ditch from the school.
Having a neighborhood school is that we knew everybody, and everybody probably was your cousin, probably. And if we didn't see each other at school, then we saw each other around in the neighborhood, and we saw each other at church and everywhere else. But I know that we enjoyed being like the first in the new school.
I attended Baxter-Patrick from 1965 to 1970. And I remember it was an exciting time for me. 1st grade, coming to school for the very first time, riding that big yellow bus. It was an exciting time for me. Getting new school clothes to start 1st grade, getting your first book bag to put your books in, and then arriving to Baxter-Patrick, to a school I had never been before, and coming into 1st grade to Mrs. Richardson's class.
My home, I will say, is really right here in the community where this library is built, where the school was, and I could walk to and from school at all times. And my family lived here. A lot of the classmates lived, for the most part, right around here. And so for me, seeing my mom and dad, who were actual active farmers, was a good thing and could be a problem thing, because clearly the teachers were very vocal and they communicated very closely with them. PTA was strong, and so for me, this was home. It was a home school.
I lived right across from the school, so I could not ever be late.
So you're next door neighbors right here.
I just jumped across the ditch because we were really outdoorsy type of people.
We were some of the healthiest kids around. We used to do some mischievous things because during the springtime, the farmer would plant his fields with cucumbers and tomatoes, and all the kids would bring salt and pepper to school. And we would jump across the fence and pick his tomato and his cucumbers and ate it. You know, so that was one of the things that we did. The farmer didn't like it, but he started putting guards on his field during lunchtime. So.
Teachers were held in high esteem, and they were highly regarded during the time that I went to Baxter-Patrick Elementary. And in my mind, teachers were 2 steps below God. They were. And, you know, when they gave you instructions, you were expected to follow them to the letter.
What pops into my mind, the first thing attending Baxter-Patrick Elementary School, when it comes to being disciplined. And I thank God for that. Because when one person did something that in the classroom, or maybe 2 people did it, and the teacher's trying to find out who done it, well, we didn't get an answer, so everybody got chastised.
And we quickly learned that, not only in 1st grade, but as we matriculated to the various grades at Baxter-Patrick Elementary. And all of the instructors here had that same discipline, had that same expectation for you to follow instructions and to follow their commandments.
The principal, Mr. Green, Calvin Green. I think it was Calvin R. Green. Miss White. It was Miss White at the time. She was the secretary. And I remember Mr. Green always had cologne. You could always smell his cologne coming down the hall. He had this thing here.
Oh yeah.
He would always walk down hallways, just whistling a tune, or there was always that cologne.
I think it was a great time for me to be at the school, and I noticed as far as discipline, I don't think there was a problem with discipline with the children. Not a lot of fighting and that type thing. The principal really had, I think, a good grip on how to handle the children.
My name is Calvin R. Green Jr. My dad Calvin Sr. was the first and only principal that Baxter-Patrick ever had. And he was a teacher over at high school down the road here, Gresham Maggott. Of course, this goes back to segregation time, so Gresham Maggott was a black high school, and then he was chosen to be the principal at Baxter-Patrick.
When you have a husband and he's the principal of a school, then you have to be a part of that school. He was a graduate of Avery and high school, and then he went to Talladega for his undergraduate degree in Indiana University for his master's degree. One of Miss Nan's Baxter is our aunt. You know that, don't you? We forgot to tell you.
Side?
That's Ricky's aunt.
Ricky, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's on the Friday side.
Yeah.
Okay. So Mom's sister, Aunt Ruth, married at a Friday, and Miss Baxter was related to the Fridays.
That's right,
Is it?
yes.
Okay.
And they
Okay.
were
From Orangeburg, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And then the other lady, I didn't know her name as well as I knew Aunt Nan, but I did know her.
I went to James Island Elementary at first, and I was in the first grade when because I was supposed to be coming to Baxter-Patrick, but I went to James Island Elementary. And the next year, I was promoted to the second grade. But for some reason, they came to me and they said, after 3 months, I wasn't ready for the second grade. So they put me back in the first grade. And that's when my mom decided, well, we're going to take you out of that school and bring you back over here to Baxter-Patrick. When I came back here, I felt a little more comfortable. Because when I left Baxter-Patrick and went to James Island Middle School, what I was taught at Baxter-Patrick, it helped me in my first year, sixth grade.
Baxter-Patrick not only provided me with unity and safety with my family and friends and people I grew up with, but it also provided me with this sense of that I was special, that I belonged. I loved some of the classes, some of the teachers, because I remember specifically Mrs. Duncan. But Mrs. Duncan liked to rank us in terms of our scores. So if you made A's, you were in the first row. B's, maybe second row, and so and so and so. And Mrs. Duncan, I think, did this when I think back about it, is maybe she wanted to stimulate us or have us try harder. Because for her, if it's visible that you're in the second row and you're A student, you want to stay there. And I wanted to stay on those first two rows.
The teachers we had, for me, I think, represented the best of what every parent would want for their child to achieve. They were professional. I mean, of course, as a child, we're not evaluating anything. We're just being kids. And yeah, but when I look back on them, I know that they had so much care and concern, and they wanted us to be disciplined. They wanted us to be excellent at what we did.
Well, I had a lot of friends that went on in this world to be very successful. And I'll say Baxter-Patrick brought us up here. Baxter-Patrick made me the man I am today.
But what I do remember most, I think, about third grade was I was in Miss Hughes' class, and I can't remember what Miss Hughes' first name was, but I remember she was a pianist, and she and her family, they were traveling. They were going to Chattanooga, Tennessee. She was playing at a concert, and her husband was following behind her with the U-Haul with her piano at that time. And for us kids back then, at that time, in third grade, she had a tragic accident, and we lost our third grade teacher. And that was very hard for me as a kid because that was the first time that any of us had ever lost a teacher. And what was most special about that third grade teacher was even if we're out on the playground or whatever we were doing, she always loved on each and every one of us. And I remember one day out on the playground I was playing. I had on a little plaid skirt with little gold buttons, and my button popped on the playground. And she had a pin on her blouse or something, and she took it off and she put the pin in the back of the button so the button can, and put the button back. I kept that button skirt with that pin for years and years. I think even throughout high school, just kept that because she meant a lot to me, as did many of the other teachers there.
And one of the things that I remember, we had this May Day celebration that they would prepare us for. And I believe I was in the 4th grade. And they even taught us the Irish jig because we had to perform it as part of the May Day celebration. And finally, you have the performance for the community and doing your dance around that pole that was on the front parking area of the school.
It was just a good time to be here. We had lots of activities here. During the spring, we used to have the annual May Day dance, and we had the flagpole where we wrapped the ribbons around the flagpole. And we did plays and all kinds of activities and stuff around the school.
The most thing I remember when I was in 3rd grade, I was in a play, The Fiddler on the Roof, and I was one of the fiddler.
So he was a good student all around.
Oh yeah, he was good, but in any time in football, he loved that football. Everybody said, Miss Genevieve, I just love Herbie. When you see Herbie run, and Herbie turn back, the boys show that ball, and Herbie don't miss that ball. And he got a son is the same way, both of them. Herbie, I love you.
I love you too, Mommy.
I look forward to the plays every year. I had the Easter plays, the Christmas plays and stuff. We had our music classes on the stage, and the cafeteria had the stage with the curtains drawn, and we would have music classes in there. And my first Easter play, I think I was a rabbit. That's the first time I learned how to do the bunny hop. Yeah. That was something else. I like the music.
How'd you do the hop?
I'll stand up and do it if you want.
No.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I still remember how to do this, but it was like dun 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 dun.
Did they have a little tail on you too? Did they have the little cotton tail on the back?
Yeah, I had the tail, the costume,
yeah,
all that stuff.
Those plays were good. I forgot about those were because they went all out. They made the costumes and the animals, and if you were a tree, you had leaves, and yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, the plays.
But music was on the stage during lunchtime. They just pulled the curtain, and we were just all on the stage.
When desegregation came about, we went to James Island High School. But the way it happened is that we didn't get any notification that this was going to occur until we received a letter in the mail stating that this year you will be going to James Island High School. And that kind of caught us off guard. And it was quite a transition that we had to make. We didn't find the support that we needed from the teachers. They taught differently. Whereas the black teachers from Gresham Megget, they worked with you until you learned the material or saw to it that you had someone to help you with the material. They made sure we got adequate notes, and but during the transition, we didn't get that.
We had an instructor by the name of Mrs. Counts. And little did we know at the time, but we were on the horizon of desegregation. And one of the things that Mrs. Counts instilled in us was the fact that we had no need to feel inferior. We had no need to be afraid, that we were intelligent, and that we were able to compete with our Caucasian students that we're about to be thrust into classrooms with. And she allowed us to know that the education that we received here at Baxter-Patrick Elementary was just as superior as any other education that any other student on this island could receive. And I found that to be true when I transferred when Baxter-Patrick Elementary closed down and we were transferred over to James Island Middle School. And I found myself in classrooms with white counterparts who really didn't know what we thought they knew. We knew that we were just as good, and we knew that we were just as intelligent. And so I have to thank Mrs. Counts for preparing us.
And so I remember either going to school or coming back. It seemed like I was coming to school, and this is what I saw. I saw young men in chains. They were in a chain gang. I didn't know what it was then. They had the striped shirts. I probably was in 6 or 7 years old. And I remember looking at them, and I remember the white man on the horseback with a shotgun. I never forgot that. And I think because Baxter-Patrick had opened the door about this unity or the sense of belonging, maybe somewhere along the line I always felt that it was important to be an advocate for justice. Here is this young man that looks just like me. I'm going to school and he's in a ditch. He couldn't have been any more than about 17 years old. And this is why I wear things like this, no place for hate. Baxter-Patrick really equipped me maybe in more ways than I can tell you. But I do know this. I know that I got a sense of justice. I got a sense of belonging. And Mr. Green, because the door that was open made you feel like you had a place. You had someone that you could count on.
Hello, my name is Ruth Wilder Davis, and I am proud to be from James Island, South Carolina. I attended Baxter-Patrick Elementary School in 1962 through 1963. I graduated from Baxter-Patrick Elementary School. I was one of the very first class that attended the new Baxter-Patrick Elementary School. I salute all the teachers, the principal, all of my instructors at Baxter-Patrick Elementary School, because it was there where I actually learned the importance of education. It was through my parents as well as those teachers and even community members who stressed the importance of education, stating that that is something that no one can take away from you. So with that in mind, I kept that as a part of a mantra as I proceeded into my career. I graduated from Wilberforce University in Ohio, and I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia. I have worked in the career of social work and retired from the state of Georgia. Soon after retirement, I was recalled to return, and currently I own my own consulting firm. I am very indebted and happy about the impact that Baxter-Patrick and all of the instructors made in my life. Hats off to Baxter-Patrick Elementary School. Thank you.
Hello, Baxter-Patrick, Grumble Road in James Island. I am Herman Gordine. I attended Baxter-Patrick for 2 years, graduating in 1963. I grew up down the road from the school as it was in plain view of our house. I watched the school get built from ground up. My mother worked in the cafeteria, then later on with the custodial staff. Opening day. Fresh smell paint, glowing floors, and Mr. Green greeting the student body. Can never forget that. My favorite teachers, Mr. Conyers, Miss Kenny, and Mr. Green. One of the things that I remember about, we had a science project where we built a dinosaur, a life-size dinosaur, with the use of cooking flour, water, and old newspaper. It turned out to be a real good project, and that's a memory. I can still see that dinosaur today. May Day. It was celebrated every year in front of the school where we wrapped the maypole. Everybody dressed in all white. And the wrapping of the pole. Fun times. I went on to finish high school on James Island and later received a Bachelor of Arts degree from Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. I currently live in Rochester, New York, where I've worked in corporate America for 40 plus years, since recently retiring a few years ago from Xerox Corporation. I want to thank everybody involved with keeping the name Baxter-Patrick alive and well with the building of the library. God bless.
The idea of having a library here was special from the time I moved back, and I moved back in 2016 from 25 years in the Army and 15 years with the government at the Pentagon. So coming back home was just beautiful. It was right on time. It was time. But clearly just seeing the changes, good and bad, you have to understand change, and I try to and make adjustments accordingly. So the library being here, it's an wunderbar thing, and I told that to a lot of folks, and clearly I'm a part of supporting this library in many ways. And then the name being given to this library has been a strong, powerful thing for me, remembering and knowing who I was then and where the school took me going from this location.
From this, I'm sure that some of the teachers, if they're still living, would just like, I just can't believe it, you know. We had a school here, and now you got James Island Elementary, but at the same time, you got the library, and it's after Baxter-Patrick, you know, so I think it's magnificent.
I do want to say a big thank you for everyone, and I look forward to everyone using this resource as an opportunity to continue the legacy, that's the foundation that's been laid out for us. We can bring our children and our grandchildren and our neighbors' children and affirm community in our community.
The school was here first, and that was a great resource. When the school was closed down, and I think it was about a period of 5 years that the school had been closed for a long time, and then finally it was taken down, and it was just a vacant lot here. So some things happened in this area that wasn't so good on this property after the school was vacated. And to see this library come here to replace all of that is just awesome.
I think this is what was supposed to be here. Out of everything that they had intended to be here, this is what was supposed to be here, and I'm very proud of it. I'm excited for the things that could be in the future for the community. I really want to see the community use it. I really want to see the community come out and use it.
I think it's just an extension of the learning that was already started here, years and years ago, with the school. And now even to have a part of the library's name, the Baxter-Patrick James Island Library, I thought that was very fitting.
It's just a tribute to all of them, not only my dad, but to everyone, all teachers who ever worked at the school, and everybody. And it's a tribute, and they are to be commended that they decided to keep everything at this site, and now they have this fantastic facility